Hello again, everybody on the internet. It is me, Doc Eon, coming to you with a Monday Miniatures Ramble for Monday, the 22nd of July, 2019. And as always, kicking off with finished minis. And let's start with old business. These two that I started last week have been finished. These are the Minx Studios heroes, and they're okay. I mean, I didn't hey, the focus is off. There, now the focus is correct. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, well, I tried to paint them up relatively nicely. The thing is, they're resin, and I mean, they're very nice sculpts, but resin as a material has certain limitations when it's not the very highest quality. This is like mid-range resin. It's not the cheapest resin, but it's not the best either. I'm not really an expert on what makes different qualities of resin better or other, but the effect you notice as a painter is that poor quality resin is kind of crumbly, meaning that small detail might look good when you're looking at it unpainted, but then when you try to put paint on it, it just doesn't handle right. Good resin is smoother and has a harder surface. And this, as I said, was somewhere in between. It was okay, but as I mentioned, it was kind of brittle. This hammer haft broke off during assembly, and hopefully you can't see it now that it's fixed. But it's, yeah, it was a slight problem. Anyway, next we have the two ladies I painted at the store last Monday, and they're kind of military, but I realized very quickly that only this one is in actual military gear, so I painted her in a sort of drab greens and browns, and went for something like a camo pattern on the helmet because I thought that should need the most camouflage. For the jacket or parka or whatever you want to call it, I wanted to paint camo, but the thing is, it has so many folds and creases, and that if you paint camo, that is a sort of speckled pattern on top of that, it leads to so much visual confusion that it's not pleasing to the eye. It's just chaos. So I don't know if you can see what I've done here. I have tried to sort of give the illusion of a little bit of camo by painting it green and then shading it with brown. It's Army Painter Strong Tone that is used as a shade. So then you get both the green and the brown tones in there, which is most of what camo is. I mean, you have a few black fields sometimes, like on the helmet, but otherwise it's mostly various shades of brown and green. So if you can combine that, you can sort of give the illusion, perhaps. Now, for this girl, obviously with her clothing, she's not regular Army, so I decided to go for a different color scheme. And I went in a sort of keeping it in red. So there's red top, pink beret, a reddish brown leather jacket, and a purple shorts, which there's not that much red in them, but they're close. The purple is close to red on the color wheel. And yeah, the thing I'm least pleased with, the guns. I mean, I have little to no experience painting modern weaponry. I've painted fantasy weaponry and some sci-fi weaponry, but just modern guns. And I've tried to look at how other people do it, and they don't use metallics. They just paint them flat colors and edge highlight the hell out of it, which is what I've tried to do here. I don't know if it's any good. it's something I obviously need more practice on. I mean, yeah, like with everything, I haven't done it much, so it's not going to be good the first few times I do it. Maybe next time. And I finished off 2 more of those Dark Sword minis in fraps, not exactly the fashion shown in the DVDs, but oh well. If we start with the first one, this is the one I've been working on the longest. So the idea here is black leather, and I have not gone into all the exacting detail that Jess does on the DVD, but I tried to get somewhere in the ballpark. Now, on the blades, they might look a bit odd, because what I decided to do was to take her idea of NMM and then paint that in metallic paints. This is something that other painters have recommended as well. So that's why we have the multiple reflection points and we have the extreme contrasts between dark and light, even though it's done with true metallic paints. I'm not sure if I like the look of it. It might seem a bit overdone, but oh well. It was an experiment. You tell me what you think. Now on this figure, the only stuff on this that was done according to the DVD was the red dress, the skirt, the hair, and the skin tones. But I messed up the skin tones, and I sort of redid them in my normal technique, at least on the boobs. Sorry, the cleavage. The corset and the other stuff is just, I don't know. I kind of used similar techniques to the previous figure because I was lazy. I couldn't think of anything else. And now in this light, she's shining quite a lot. It's because I finished it off with a satin varnish. It's a little more subtle in direct light, but well, there we go. But it's not all characters. We've also finished some monsters. These 6 monstrous humanoids from the Bones 4 core set are done. We have an armored ogre, or half ogre at least, with some blight effects on the sword, kind of inspired by the ones from the Dark Sword DVD. He's mostly in metallics. Try to paint them in kind of subdued, dirty metallics. We have a Etten. Came out, I was worried it was a little drab. It was just a lot of grays and browns. There's a few pop colors, like the pink pig, the green gems, the red and green on the shield that he's appropriated. But otherwise, and you'll see this on a few other figs, my main strategy when I have too many similar colors next to each other, I blackline the heck out of it. And just to separate everything out. Because I want to paint these guys in kind of naturalistic colors. They would not have brightly colored clothing. I mean, even if they stole some nice outfits from plundering human towns, it would rapidly get dirty. Here's another example of an ogre who's got some various leathers and furs, and they're all different shades of brown. I painted one pouch kind of blue-gray, just to say, that could be cloth of some sort that he's using. But otherwise, as you can possibly tell, everything's very sharply delineated by lines of black. That's how you set things off. And the same thing with the Cyclops. Here I went with a few more different colors. He's got this sort of sallow yellow orange skin and some green wrappings, a sort of violet loincloth, and a few other bits and bobs. But again, outlined everything very clearly. On this big rat ogre, or whatever you could call him, he's not wearing a lot in the way of clothing, so that's not as much of an issue. I just tried to get a big difference between the skin and the fur. And I tried to get a bit more pink on the tail than on the body. I don't know if it comes across. Finally, a troll, which is wearing almost, well, he's wearing no clothing. So here it was more of a question of blending transitions between different body parts. It's not black-lined at all, or, well, I think maybe I lined where his hand meets this jawbone. But otherwise not, and it's a fairly simple paint job, just kind of obvious colors. Oh, and I should note that on the Etten, I had a lot of trouble. The sculpt has a device of skulls on these two fields, but in the casting it is extremely shallow. It's like it's almost not there. It was really hard to try to get that to show. So, you know, you just have to call it, say that the device on the shield is faded over time, misuse. Yeah, but I'm happy to have a bunch more cool monsters to throw at players. Now, the work that is most in progress is, of course, the Darksword minis, and you will probably notice that on these two, not much news happened. On Arston, I've actually gone ahead and painted a lot of stuff, his clothing and his staff. Basically everything that is not covered on the DVD, which means I've still the cloak and the sword to do, and the OSL that emits from the sword. So you could say I'm preparing the groundwork for finishing him up. Now, I've not been true to the books. I mean, in the books he's not wearing these flashy threads, like a purple tunic with gold trim. That's not what Arston Whitebeard would be sporting, but oh well. Oh, and maybe it wasn't such a bad idea to paint the knee here in flesh color, because I noticed that the still pics that are on the DVD cover and inserts, they're actually the promo pics from the website, and that's the old studio paint jobs. That's not exactly how Jess is painting them on the DVD tutorials. So while the other painter, I don't exactly remember who painted this figure for the Darksword website, but they painted the knee as having a stocking on it, but Jessica has painted it as skin. So maybe I'll leave it like that. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, for tonight at the game store, I've prepped the hassle-free minis, and I've assembled the dwarves in hopefully interesting ways. So this guy is carrying a really, really big shotgun. This guy is more of a classic miner, but he has some heat ready to protect his claim against any and all comers. And finally we have Big Boris. Now the hint of blue you see is just some overspray from something else I was doing. That was a mistake, but heck, this is just primer. It's gonna get covered up. Now the thing that was tricky with this figure
is the right hand. Now the right hand was separate, as was the axe. And I had to attach them. As you can see, you can probably see the haft is a little bit bent to make it fit. And it still doesn't fit terribly well. He's not holding it in his hand, actually. The reason for this is that the way it is sculpted, he can't. I would have had to do a lot of rejiggering to make that fit. Because as you can see, the axe has to lie at this angle, at this axis. But his wrist is on this axis. So it doesn't really matter how I turn the hand on the wrist. It's still not going to be at the proper angle for the haft to fit in it. I would have had to build out the forearm and to allow me to sort of turn the hand like that. I think that would have looked weird as well. So yeah, we're just gonna have to make do with this. So this is what the Pathfinder iconics look like when prepped. They've been primed gray, washed in primed light gray, washed in a dark gray. Got some of the deepest, darkest recesses have pure black painted in them, and then a light dry brush of white on top of that. And the idea is to give a basis for speed painting, so I can just paint with glazes and let the shadows fall as they may. Now the white dry brush is perhaps a little much, but no, I think there's some shade left in the recesses. We can work with that. Because if I were to paint all of these as to a good standard, to using non-speed painting techniques, it's going to take forever. But yeah, we'll just see if it works.
So just a little quick midweek report about the trolls. The saber-toothed pug, as I call him, is really cute. No assembly, minimal cleanup, pretty good. This little normal troll, I did not assemble him, he came pre-assembled. I don't know if I even need to bother with the gap filling. There's not much gap in the way of gaps here. The rock troll came pre-assembled. It has some gaps I need to fill. Some mold lines I've cleaned off a little bit. Some I can't really reach because they're on the inside of the legs, and because he came pre-attached to the base, I cannot fix that. Oh well, never mind. So this one, also minimal gap filling going to be needed. He came together very well. Then there's finally the two-headed troll. Now, this much was already assembled in advance. What was not assembled was the hands and what he's holding in the hands. I'll talk about that in a little minute. Then there's some mold lines down the sides that I can't do anything about because they are in this very rocky, pebbly skin. And if I try to scrape lines away, I will also scrape away the pebbles, and that will ruin the texture. There's a little gap at the neck here I'll fill. Anyway, so what's he holding in his hands? Well, the thing is, it comes with two options. It comes with a rock or a pig. And you would say, of course, you'll go with the pig. And I was wondering, I was thinking, oh, do I have to choose? But then I realized that, oh, it comes with two sets of hands. So these are hands that I've glued onto the rock, and these are hands that are supposed to go on the pig. However, there is an issue, namely that one of these hands is not like the others. Okay, so this one fits perfectly. This one does not, and you can see it from the shape of the peg and the shape of the hole. These are not, this is the wrong hand. It is actually a copy of one of the hands from the rock. All 4 hands are supposed to be different. So I've gotten a faulty hand, which means I cannot assemble the pig. It's not going to work. I mean, I could try to force it and fake it, but I don't know. I've emailed Reaper's customer support about it, and I haven't heard back yet. But it's only been a day, so they're usually pretty good about this sort of thing. They might be able to solve it for me. In the meantime, however, I've been experimenting, and apparently the idea is that you should be able to swap them out. You don't need to marry yourself to one idea about what it should be. However, that would only work if the fit was better. So like, this is the best possible fit you can have, and you see there's a large gap. You know, if I permanently attach this, it's not a problem. I'll green stuff this, and it'll be okay. But it's not hot swappable. What about magnets, you say? It would not look good either, because the angles are not completely correct. So I don't think so. But you know, I'll wait on Reaper's response a little bit more before I decide what to do. Yeah. So now I've gone ahead, and now it's Monday, and by the way, and I've prepped most of these. I've not gone forward with this. I have not attached the hands yet on this model. I'm still waiting to hear from Reaper how they want to resolve this. I'm sure they will send me an extra copy or something, but they just haven't had time to get back to me. Yeah, and these are just primed, and I'm leaving them on their molded basis. As you can see, I put some white brush-on primer on top of the gray airbrushed primer to see what with these rocks, and I've discovered a lot of casting mistakes that I have gone back to fix on them. And I still see more. I see, like, I need to, like this mold line here, I need to fix that. Simply because they're on the right here on the top of his back, and they're very visible, and ugly mold lines. I mean, I can't get everything off because it's bones, but I can try to get at least some of it off. Yeah, but that's doable.
When it comes to lining up new projects for next week, I don't want to show you too much in this segment because of what's going to happen in the outro. But I want to show you a few things that I've planned. I mentioned that I sort of bit the bullet and did with the Pathfinder Iconics because I dreaded a little bit painting them. So why not push myself even more? So this is the other project that I've been dreading. These are the Small World Heroes sets from the Bones 4 core set, and they are chibi figures. There are 6 chibi characters of various kinds. I think this is the Barbarian, like this is the Wizard, for example. I've never done this. I've never tried this style, so I'm gonna have to do some research and look around on the net and see how other people paint them. And this will, I think, be also my store painting project for next Monday. I'll bring at least some of these to the game store painting night and get started on them there at least. I don't know how many I can finish, but I think I want to use that focused time, those hours that I have that are free from other distractions, to really get a good head start on this project. Otherwise, I've decided to pull from the add-ons in the Bones for Kickstarter set. And the reason is that I suddenly realized when reading ahead in the adventure I'm running right now in D&D that a few sessions from now, they're going to meet hill giants. They're going to meet 4 of them. I only have 2 painted up. Luckily, the add-ons for Bones 4 contained sorry, a grand total of 3 hill giants. First, we have this set called simply Hill Giants, which contains 2 of them. They require a little bit of assembly. And there's this set called Hill Giant Huntsman, which contains 1 hill giant and 1 hunting cat, a Smilodon. And so these are the new Bones projects for next week. Well, when you see that logo, I think you know what it means. It means mail call. I have gotten my latest Reaper order, and this time they included a sticker. Rather big sticker. Not sure why. But, oh well. Interesting enough. This is the promotional mini for this month, for July. His name is Brother Hammond. He's a monk. He's not the main reason I ordered. Otherwise, there is in this order 1 character, the bandit Damien Hellthorn, and otherwise just beasts. I have a Direbeer from the Warlord's range, 2 dire boars, similar but different, from Brookhaven Legends, a set of killer frogs, and 2 packs with the Goblin Wolves. Now, interestingly, these Goblin Wolves, I was going to use them as Goblin Dogs in Pathfinder, but they look kind of more like bar guests. I'll have to think about this. Anyway, I have a specific purpose in mind for these, but most of these beasts are, they're general purpose, useful monsters. So I'm going to put all of these into production right away, prep them for next week. And also, why not Brother Hammond? I want to see how this Bones Black Mini paints up. However, Damien I have a very specific purpose in mind for, so I'm going to save him for the future. But anyway, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 more minis going in the queue to be prepped. And mostly metal. A little bit of a break from the Bones, at least. Yeah, that was this week. Everything I had to show you. Hope it was useful or interesting, or at least somewhat enjoyable for you, so that you click like, keep subscribing, subscribe if you haven't done so. Check back next week when I will have a new episode for you. Until then, this is Doc Eon wishing you a good week of painting.